Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with yet another video of the AZ Sports Fan. Thank you so very much for tuning in, guys. We have another special Saturday collaboration. Today we have Norbcam in the house, a diehard Seahawk fan. What's going on over there, man?
Hey, not much, man. Just Sunday night prime time. Seahawks Cardinals, baby. Let's get it. Oh, let's go.
Exactly, man. That was one thing I was going to mention here. We got flexed to prime time, and that's a compliment in my opinion here, especially being an Arizona Cardinal fan. We don't really have a lot of primetime games. I think the last time we had was probably back in 2016 or something like that. I think it was against you guys that we ended up playing. And then, yeah, it was such a long time, but really, really awesome, especially back-to-back primetime last week against the Dallas Cowboys, and now this Sunday against Seattle Seahawks, battle for the division, guys. But we're going to jump into it here. We're going to try to see if we can get some information from Norbcam here about his Seattle Seahawks. But before we do that, you want to go ahead and tell everybody about your channel?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, all the social media out there. It's pretty easy. Everything is Norbcam, Norbcam. And so, yeah, check out my channel, subscribe, all that good stuff, and follow me on all the other social media sites, TikTok, Instagram,
Nice.
Facebook. Yeah, wherever you find me, it's always under Norbcam. So, yeah, pleasure to be here, man. Appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's go ahead and jump right into it here. Obviously, primetime is a really good game. Really exciting as well. Got Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson. Now, there's a lot of comparisons to Kyler Murray to Russell Wilson, not only because the size, but the way that they play, using their legs, as well as, Kyler Murray's being listed off with a very accurate arm. Now, as an Arizona Cardinal fan, we've seen a lot of stuff that kind of concerned us, overthrowing a lot of quarterbacks. Overthrowing a lot of wide receivers, running backs, and all that different stuff. What's the secret for Russell Wilson being so darn good, being that they're pretty much kind of equally the same size? I think Russell Wilson might have centimeters on him, but how's he playing so darn good?
Well, I think Russell Wilson has actually been really good, I think, for a long time.
Yeah.
I think people are just starting to notice it, and they're really letting him, that whole thing, let Russ cook, that there has been using that phrase, overdoing that phrase now, I think. But, it's really true that, they've really let him let it fly this year and giving him a little more ability to throw the ball and call his own shots, as opposed to forcing the run game necessarily. So, but Russell Wilson has always been a really accurate thrower. I think he was often overlooked in his skills just because we had such a dominant defense. So everybody kind of just sort of writes him off and says, oh yeah, he was just a game manager and it was the defense that won all those games. I disagree. I think he's made a lot of accurate throws. Obviously he could run. He ran a lot more, kind of like Kyler Murray has done in his first 2 years. Russell was running like that in his first 2-3 years, but he's a few years older, and he's got to be smarter too, because teams play him that way, and so he really doesn't look to run. He's not like Lamar Jackson. He's not out there to try to run. He'll always try to throw the ball first, and really only run it in the most required of situations where nothing's there and there's just an open lane and he's got to get that first down, then he'll do it. But really, he doesn't try to look to run the ball. He's always
run very much.
So if the offense, the key is really the offensive line just has to give him enough time so that the receivers have time to run their routes and that he can sit, survey. And if he's gotten just a couple of seconds, to throw that ball and step into it, then great things really happen. And that's what's been happening this year. The offensive line has been playing pretty well, and they're not getting enough credit because, I think everyone expected them to really suck.
Right.
They've actually been playing pretty good. And much like our defense, they don't have to be fantastic. They just have to be good enough, because we've had some terrible lines where before Russell has even planted his foot, the guy's in his face. So this year it's been better. He's had time to throw, and that's why you're seeing these huge passes down the field. Because as you know, if a receiver can't get open downfield, you can't throw to him because there's not enough time for it to develop. So he's had that time, and that's why he's been so effective this year more than any other.
Absolutely true, man. And obviously you guys are starting off really, really hot. You're 5-0. Congratulations. That's amazing. But looking at the schedule here, the players, the teams that you were playing, Falcons, Patriots, Cowboys, Dolphins, Vikings, and now the Cardinals. The only one that I really saw there as far as like a really tough team, I'd probably say the Patriots. At one point it was the Cowboys, but it seemed like their true colors came out, especially that embarrassing smackdown of when we beat them on Monday Night Football. But do you think you guys are overlooking the Cardinals? Because I've heard a lot of fans going onto my page and saying, "Hey, we're 5-0. That's enough to kind of take this game over." And me, I'm always living with the any given Sunday type of thing, really depending on matchups. But do you think the fans or the Seahawks are going to be overlooking the Arizona Cardinals because we're 4-2?
I'm sure a lot of fans are overlooking the Cardinals, and that's fine. I more power to you guys. Keep the rah-rah going. Personally, myself, I'm not one like that. I tend to usually go into every game worried as heck, no matter who we're playing. Heck, we'll probably play the Jets, and I'll probably still be worried that something could go wrong. That's just kind of me. But I'm sure that the teams handle this totally differently, and I don't think Seattle has any reason to take anybody lightly and think, oh yeah, we're 5-0, we're the best team that's ever walked the earth, because we've won these games by the narrowest of margins for some of these games, and like that last game against the Vikings, we really should have lost that game. If the Vikings don't shoot themselves in the foot, we probably lose that game. And so it took every last grain of a blade of grass for us to win that game. That's how not only close it was, but that's how badly Minnesota had to sort of give it back to us in order for us to win it back. Granted, we still had to win it, and Russell had to pull an amazing less than 2 minute 94-yard drive to do it. But we are lucky we were even in that position. So I'm sure they see that and watch that tape and went, we can't do that again, because if we do that again against the Cardinals, it's going to be not good. So I certainly don't underestimate the Cardinals. And I'll remind your audience from the last time we talked that I said I thought the Cardinals were going to be the surprise team out of the NFC West.
You did.
You guys are doing kind of what I expected. And I saw Kyler Murray. I saw your upgrades on defense. I saw, DeAndre Hopkins. All that to me was just spelled danger, Will Robinson, danger. And the only thing that's happened that's sort of been in our favor was that, Chandler Jones got injured, which is unfortunate from a player standpoint, but obviously from a pass rush standpoint, he's been Russell Wilson's worst nightmare. One of, I think, sacked the most by any single player, maybe even more than Aaron Donald. I'm not sure, but between the two of them, those guys have wreaked havoc in the backfield. So I'm sure in a lot of ways he's happy that he doesn't have to face him. But other than that, the Cardinals are kind of doing what I expected them to do. It's no surprise to me that they're in this position.
For sure. Now, the news that you told me was that Jamal Adams will not be playing this game. Now, honestly, that's exciting for me. Not as a person, Arizona Cardinal fan. Don't wish any injury on anybody, but that's really good news for the Arizona Cardinals that Jamal Adams isn't playing. Now, I have a really good question for you here. What's a good player on the defensive side of the ball that's going to be a game changer for you guys that nobody really knows about? Who's that person for you guys?
That's a good question. There's a couple names I would probably say who have been surprise standouts. I'll start with the new name, Ryan Neal. Ryan Neal was the guy who got the game-saving interception in the end zone when the Cowboys were trying to come back and win that game. He got the interception. I was like, yay! What the hell was that guy? Because I didn't even recognize him because he had just gotten promoted off the practice squad not more than 2 days before that moment. And since then, he's had another interception against Miami, and he's been playing really well. So in the absence of Jamal Adams, it's been great. And Ugo Amadi, another one of our staple guys, has also been dealing with a back injury. So having Ryan Neal coming off the practice squad and not just being a dude, but being a guy who's actually contributed in a major way with a couple of picks and has been pretty sound. He's been a surprise addition to the team. Again, coming out of nowhere. I mean, you never expect a practice squad guy to suddenly contribute, right? So that was huge to have the fact that with these injuries in the secondary, he not only filled in, but filled in well. So he's been playing really well. I would say kind of more of the old veteran guy who's been really playing, sort of having a sort of almost a renaissance type year is KJ Wright. KJ Wright, almost last year, people were saying, I think KJ's got to go. He's too old. He's too slow. And people were ready to cast him off. And I think a lot of us were not even sure if he'd get signed this year. And he did get signed to potentially this being his final year, but he's having a pretty career year. He had a huge one-handed interception against the Vikings, which helped turn the tide and got us going. But against the Dolphins, he was constantly getting his hands on the ball. It's funny because he got two hands on balls that should have been intercepted at least 2 times, maybe 3. And it's funny that for him to finally get an interception, he had to use one hand. So he had a lot to do with that, keeping Miami from doing more damage to us in that game. just by, he was breaking up screen passes. So he's had a really good season, surprisingly good season. Like Bobby Wagner, he's always there making tackles, but he's kind of had a little bit of an underwhelming season. So it's been nice that KJ Wright has actually stepped up, and he's playing. Normally he's a weak side linebacker, but he actually got moved to strong side because we had Jordan Brooks coming in, who's our rookie, who was our first round draft pick. He came in here, and unfortunately then he got injured, so they had to replace him. But I think he'll be back in this game. So look for Jordan Brooks. I feel like he's quick, and Jordan Brooks may be one of those guys that could have an impact on trying to, I won't say stop, but minimize the damage of Kyler Murray running around trying to get deep into our backfield. So
right. Okay.
Look to Jordan Brooks to maybe hopefully slow him down a little bit.
That's fair. Now, obviously, I think everybody here knows, Seahawk fans, Arizona Cardinal knows, it's been the trend for quite some time. You guys come to State Farm Stadium, you win. We go to CenturyLink, we win. Now, I hate it. I hope that all changes this week, obviously, because we're playing here at State Farm Stadium. But what do you think is the most, I guess, how can you beat the Seattle Seahawks being 5-0 right now? Obviously, they're on fire, but what do you think is the best thing the Cardinals can do defensively to kind of rattle him?
Well, I think you don't have to look any further than what the Vikings did to us the first half of that game last week or 2 weeks ago. We couldn't do anything. Yeah. And what they were doing was they don't have a great secondary, but they were just playing it really well. They had their two safeties would go deep. So it was like a cover two. And they just had everything covered up. Russell would be back there, and he's looking, and then their defensive line would get pressure, and he just couldn't find anybody. So he was just not able to get rid of the ball and throw to his target. So whatever they were doing in that scheme was working really well. So I don't know if the Cardinals are going to come out. I don't know typically what they run, but if they watched what the Vikings did, that certainly would give them a tip that that was very successful for at least 2 quarters. Right. And again, he needs time, and obviously the receivers also have to get open. So it's that combination of two things, and they couldn't get open. He had some time, but then even then, he still, even with a lot of time, just could not find anybody open. So I think that's it. It's a combination of obviously good coverage, good sound coverage by your secondary, and then the defensive line just getting enough to keep Russell contained. That's like we'll have to try to keep Kyler Murray contained, because once they break out the pocket outside, they're super dangerous. So I think it's kind of the same thing, kind of what stopping Kyler Murray reminds me a little bit of what stopping Russell Wilson.
Right. No, you're right, man. This is going to be a good game. I'm really excited. And for years to come, too, Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson, I feel like it's going to be a big, big thing from here on out, especially if, this becomes a rivalry where, Seattle, Cardinals. I'm just really excited for the future to come. Now, go ahead and let me know what your prediction is for this game.
So I think it's going to be close, because every game has been a heart attack game, and I don't think this one will be any different. I think it's going to be back and forth. We might even, probably lose the lead, and it might come down to a fourth quarter, 2-minute decision that decides the game. But my hope is that in the end, the Seahawks will prevail. As I said in my music prediction video at the start of the year, I said Seattle 31. Arizona Cardinals 27.
27. Okay, that's fair.
Narrow game. Yes.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so very much for being on the channel. I really do appreciate it, man. Yeah, that's all I got, man. Have a great rest of the day. I really hope for a healthy, fun game to watch on Sunday night. Not that we got flexed over, guys, but that's all I got for this day. Healthy
for sure, man. Because one thing I can't stand about playing at your guys' place, we've had some of the worst injuries in the history of the Seahawks in your freaking stadium, man.
You're right.
Broke his leg there. Richard Sherman had a Seattle career-ending injury there. Cam Chancellor injured his neck and never came back again.
Lockett,
all in your freaking field. So
what happened? Wasn't it Lockett when he broke his leg? Wasn't it also in our field, or was that in CenturyLink?
No, Lockett was in our CenturyLink.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was gonna say.
So you don't get that one. But you had the Legion of Boom, literally. The 3 iconic players in Legion of Boom all went down in your stadium. I don't like that.
Yo, I wouldn't like that either. That's what I feel about when I play against when we play against the Los Angeles Rams or the St. Louis Rams. I feel like they always injured our players, but that's fair, man. That's definitely fair. All right, man. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on me. Appreciate it, man.
No problem. All right, guys, go Cards.